All right, everyone. Welcome back to Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. We are live streaming here out of the newsroom, so I appreciate all of you who have been watching live. You can also watch after the fact as well. We get to have a wide range of conversations on this show. I'm Greg Nibbler, as I mentioned, and right now we're going to be talking about something pretty exciting when it comes to the space program, and that is a moon base. Long talked about. The plans are finally in motion, and we just got to learn a little bit more about it. We're going to learn more in this segment right now. From NASA, we are joined by Jim Geffre. And Jim, thank you very much for having time to talk to us about this and to join us here for this segment. I love learning about the plans and the work that you and all the entire team there gets to do and gets to bring to us. But to start off, would you mind telling us just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, you bet. Well, thanks for having me today. We're really excited to talk about the moon base and all that is going on at NASA. On the heels of the recently successful Artemis 2 mission, there's a lot of excitement across the country and really the whole world about going back to the moon. And so this week we were very excited to announce a couple new missions that are going to be returning to the moon. So myself, I am the Deputy Program Manager of the EVA and Human Surface Mobility Program, and we're now working to stand up our new moon base.
And when you talk about, just going back to that really quick, so EVA and Human Surface Mobility, so you're talking about, to boil it down, the machines, the moon cars, if you will, the things that people are going to be utilizing there on the surface.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are the new generation spacesuits that allow the astronauts to walk around, explore, and return important scientific findings from the moon. But it's also the rovers that they're going to drive around. One of the things we learned from the Apollo missions was just what a game changer having mobility is on the lunar surface. And so when we return to the moon, we want to give those astronauts that same kind of capability to move around very quickly.
I find that fascinating how much, talking about the previous missions to the moon, 50 years ago, how much of that technology or what you learned from that goes into these newer rovers and vehicles that you're designing?
It's all new technology. So the old rovers were based on 1960s technologies for mobility and power. We have the advantage of almost 60 years of development in all of those areas. It allows the crew to focus more on their exploration tasks than having to operate the machines. But we're taking advantage of all the things that have been developed for aerospace programs, automotive, and others, and be able to apply those technologies to build the next generation of rovers.
Amazing. And when it comes to that kind of stuff, how do you test something out that's going to be on the surface of the moon, in that lack of gravity compared to the Earth as well?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. That is one of the big challenges, is the moon has about 1/6 of Earth's gravity. So you can't operate and test exactly as you would on the moon. We have offloading systems where we can take some of the weight off of that. But we also build full one gravity, Earth gravity systems that allow us to test out different systems. So we use a combination of different testing platforms and techniques, but bring those all together. In the end, though, there is no perfect one environment to represent the moon, which is why we go there. So in our early LTV development, that's what we're calling the new rovers. We want to develop something very quickly, get it to the moon by 2028 for the first astronaut landing missions, but test it out, learn from it. Of course, we'll be safe, but one of the great advantages of the early development is that we can try it out in the moon, figure out what works and where we had problems, and then we'll build that into the next generation of rovers.
So really have those astronauts that'll be there test driving and just seeing what actually works in a real use case situation.
Absolutely. At all times, we'll keep them safe, but they'll put the machines through their paces and learn how it reacts. The moon is a very challenging environment, especially so at the South Pole where we're going to build our moon base. It is a very harsh environment, and so learning how we react to the systems of the LTV react to the moon's regolith, or the dirt there, the gravity, the thermal environment, the power environment. All those are very foreign to operating on Earth. So we need to get that information on how the systems perform and then learn from it.
And talking about where the moon base is going to be, they're on on the southern South Pole there for the moon. Why was that area selected for this moon base?
Yeah, the South Pole is a very interesting environment. You're showing a graphic right now. What it highlights is the way the moon's orbit is aligned. There are deep craters there that may contain volatile materials from early solar system development. It's also a very good place for building up a habitation, a permanent outpost. So between the scientific return as well as um, the ability to put in place a permanent habitation location on the moon, it's the ideal combination of those environments. So we want to go to great, grand places that teach us more about the solar system and the Earth and the moon. The South Pole happens to be the perfect place for that.
And talking about that long-term stability there, what are some of the key things that the program's going to need on the moon to make sure that stability can last for going forward?
Yeah, when we think about a moon base, in many ways it's similar to building a city or a town on Earth. You need a lot of the same kind of resources that go into building a neighborhood or a town. You start with your utilities, your power systems, your communication systems, your mobility, your roads. All those things need to go in first, so that they can support the more permanent habitation elements. But being in a very harsh environment, thermally, a vacuum, and many other challenging aspects, we have to design those in up front, as well as build the infrastructure that allows the astronauts to operate safely, but also communicate what they're doing and what they're finding back to Earth. So all those systems are what we're building into the first phase of the moon base.
And to give everybody just that recap too on that phase, so you mentioned 2028. Could you give us just a kind of a quick timeline of what you're planning here for at least this first phase?
Yeah, you bet. The first phase is actually happening right now. It is we have 3 missions planned for this year. The idea is to build out the infrastructure that I talked about. The goal of the first phase is just to learn more about operating on the moon and the South Pole. For all the missions that happened in the 1960s with Apollo, we only had about 80 hours of operating time on the moon. And by no means can you learn everything about a planet-sized body like the moon in just 80 hours of exploration. So in this first phase, we're going to be sending reconnaissance drones. We're going to send our first lunar terrain vehicles and other technology demos that are really focused on learning about it. And then once we have settled on a more ideal location for the moon base, in the next phase, we'll start putting in the more permanent infrastructure.
For you, what is it that's most exciting for you to be working on a program like this?
Boy, everything. I mean, this is a humanity changing opportunity, in my opinion. The idea of human beings living off planet, on another body, we have amazing history, 26 plus years of operating in low Earth orbit on the International Space Station. But this is a whole nother step up. Being able to, everybody can look up in the sky and see the moon, and for generations, people have thought about what it would be like to live and work and walk around there. So the idea to be part of building something that is permanent, that is we can continue growing and continue humanity's journey off the planet is just exciting in so many ways.
It really is, and I mean it's an amazing work that you're doing there, and I appreciate you having time to talk about it too, and just to walk us through some of this, and just to really, get a better idea of exactly what it is that's going to be transpiring there, and just why it's so important. Jim, thank you very much. Is there anything else that you think is important for the general public to know about the program?
First of all, it's been my pleasure. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody's interest and support for Artemis. I think it's really exciting what we're doing there. And so I hope people follow along. We have some exciting news coming up here with next announcements of future astronauts and many other missions that are happening to get NASA and our partners back to the moon.
Jim, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on the success so far of getting to this point, and looking forward to seeing the next steps and seeing those rovers running around on the moon. You know, it's going to be awesome. So thanks,
Me too.
Jim.
Thanks.
And for everybody watching, we are live streaming here out of the newsroom. We're going to take a quick break. We've got plenty more that we will be covering. So we're going to do that. We'll be back here after this with more Fox 12 Now.